Good evening. Welcome to Defacto Review, our weekly in-depth analysis on the current news and affairs with our commentator and economist, Mr. Jargal Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'm your host, Namsraj Singh. You can join in on our conversation on MNB World Facebook page and on Twitter with hashtag Jargal_Defacto. Now let's take a look at today's topics. Does Ulaanbaatar need a facial recognition system? An advice for voters. After the election. Now let's get into our first topic for today. To reduce crime by 40 to 50%, city authorities are planning to monitor Ulaanbaatar through a network of cameras. These cameras will be equipped with face and number recognition to monitor people and vehicles. News of this development caused an uproar among the public, with critics saying that the plan violates privacy and information security of people. So our first question on this one is that are there any laws in place that would enforce this kind of monitoring system to be installed in Ulaanbaatar city?
Well, actually, there is no law, but there is a regulation turned out. New one also, supported by the mayor of the city under the program called Secure City. Under this program, they're going to make new 2,000 pieces of cameras, smart cameras, installed in Ulaanbaatar city all around, according to the department head of Information and Technology Department head of Ulaanbaatar city, Mr. Chinzarg. 600 of this 2,000 will be installed in 30 crossroads in Ulaanbaatar. Thus, they will increase 10% coverage to 28% coverage by camera, the major road sections, cross sections in the town. And the remaining 1,400 will be installed in public square, places, gardens, etc. And then they will increase from 10% to 20% the coverage, which will be increased further in 2021. It will be 40%. 2022, it will be 80%. And according to the officials, it will make possible to decrease criminal cases in the city twice less. So currently it turned out 3,600 cameras are existing in Ulaanbaatar city, but 40% of them are either obsolete or don't work. That's why they need to renew and install more. That's what they say.
So, do other democratic countries use this kind of facial recognition system? Isn't it kind of dystopian?
Well, this one is coming soon or later anyway to Mongolia. It is installed in many countries, in particular in our southern neighbor, China, where they can recognize anybody within a few minutes. And in the region of Xinjiang, they even 2 times shorter. They can recognize anybody who is who, walking or whatever in the street or on the public places. That facial recognition camera is coming all around, and Mongolia is now coming as the next country to install it. But however, in democratic countries, they have a special law that requires particular public scrutiny about the usage of those cameras. And you know, in the democracy, for example, CIA report says how many cameras the inspection was used, following the particular citizens were used during a year, and how many it helped to discover criminal cases. So this kind of, at least the reports to be there. And now the city authority turned out, they made all the study, all the research, and now they are in the process of selection of that technology camera. Usually it happens always Chinese one because it is more cheaper price. So it's already coming to Mongolia now. I think mostly I don't know exactly whether they have chosen Chinese already or not, but there is a system, and that system will connect all enforcement agencies, security agencies, GIA, police department, and the extreme cases, departments, so SOS departments, etc. All cameras in the city will be interconnected into one system, which will be not only watched by traffic police, but also by all the security agencies, which is big warning and worry for Mongolian citizens, because we don't have proper law. We are not sure that it can protect our privacy.
So, as you said, people are worried about their privacy. So, why are privacy and information security so important?
And this is a part of our system, part of our confidence, part of the features of democratic society. And if they will install it immediately, then they will violate several laws, including constitution's provision where it says that Mongolian citizens would have the immunity right and to be free, and other than specified by specific laws, nobody has a right to investigate anybody in this country. And plus, if in the case of investigation, according to criminal law, 1.8.1, it says that only with the permission of prosecutor, any state agencies has a right to investigate a person. And so they will substantially violate our privacy, because there is no guarantee that those officials working in these 5-6 enforcement agencies will not use that for our own bad purpose. We don't believe in our public officials because, even our state house, there was a criminal case. There was a murder in a state palace itself. So we are very worried about the integrity of our public officials, in particular in these enforcement agencies, in particular after they have this strong instrument to recognize everybody. This smart camera is not only recognizing your face, but it will read you by your way of walking, type of body, etc., etc. So it will become very sophisticated. And we are particularly worried because all new buildings in the city, their camera, even inside of the buildings, is to be connected with all this network, and all this happening without proper law provisions or particular laws that guarantees us our safety, security, privacy, etc. The plus also there is a magazine called The Diplomacy, and The Diplomat, and it says it says an interview of a Russian expert, Vladimir Ovchinsky, who said that in 2020 China will conduct a feasibility run for social credit system in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Mongolia. What is the social credit system that can be controlled by face recognition camera? And who is any subject that can credit you by the way you look and by the way you walk? So that's very troublesome comment by a Russian expert who is a member of the Council on Foreign and Defense Policy, according to this interview, which was also published in Komsomolskoye Pravda in December 2019. So we need to worry. Citizens are afraid of this espionage. So we demand the citizens proper law that gives a guarantee. By the way, giving guarantee to individuals is a good case in Estonia. In Estonia, the citizens can be investigated, but a citizen has a legal right to know who and which agency are checking his privacy, face recognition, personal data, and the citizen has a right to demand, to report who is doing that, and they have obligation to send back that why they have been doing it.
So what happens when the government puts security over liberty? So this is exactly what is happening. So how will this exactly affect the democracy of our country?
Well, it's called, we will go to left. That means it is the way, very close to the way of dictatorship, because knowing you're making spies after each citizens, they have such a information control, they can have blackmail any individual if they want. So we don't want that. That's for which we have not fought 30 years ago. So it will damage our democracy. So all citizens to be very careful.
Okay, so let's get into our second topic for today. There are 3 days until the 2020 parliamentary elections. These elections are being organized under very unique circumstances, despite the ongoing pandemic in the world, and analysts believe that this year more youth will vote in the elections. So our first question on this topic is that what new developments have emerged before the 2020 parliamentary elections?
Very interesting election this time. This time so far, I mean in 3 days the election is over, more than 1,000 claims came to the Central Police Department, half of them from city, half are from countryside, where they have seen in the reporting election campaigning irregularity. For example, Mr. Naronghu, a candidate Naronghu from Democratic Party, his 300 motorcycles were put under arrest. He was going to give free that motorcycle to herdsmen if he is elected by them, or sell if he is not elected. That's what the situation. And also still we are more, there are a lot of social media evidences that people still give cashes, some a ticket for gas. So still there are a lot of performance shows happening in the country. For example, some candidates playing a poor people role. They are carrying water for get districts. They behave. They go to the very simple dining places, etc. So but most importantly, this time of this election is we have first time 6 candidates to the great Hural were arrested. Question is arising because why they are arrested? Because they're supposed to have immune during the election campaign according to a law of election. That's first question. Second question, many of them were criminally under investigation before they became candidates. So question is, how can people who are under criminal investigation can be candidates to the highest lawmaking authority in the town, in the country? So question comes to 2 places, and most intriguing is, among the 6 arrested, former Prime Minister Ulaanbaatar, former Finance Minister Bayırçok, former Deputy Prime Minister Jargal, Namta Bayar, who is the former deputy of a great Hural. So the most strikingly thing is the head of General Election Commission and the Mongolian president have no comment on that. No comment means they agree. That's the general acceptance of people. So if they agree, let us know why you agree, or why you have a silence at least. So that's the specific feature of this election.
So as mentioned before, this year has quite unique. So lots of candidates who are, being elected, lots of independent candidates this year. So how can voters evaluate and choose the best candidate for the country?
Well, this is more personal view on that. What I would prefer, the criteria I will use. I see that after 30 years of trying, either together or separately by two political parties, the way how they tried to govern the country didn't work well. Why? Still having all this mineral wealth, still 1/3 of the country is population is living under the poverty line, which is becoming more due to the COVID, etc. And there are two major political parties. Democratic Party, which was running before the party, they have supporting the case of 49% of Erdenet shares embezzlement. The ruling party, Democratic Party, the People's Party, are still having own thieves who were stealing the money. Small and medium enterprises, companies support fund were misused by this party. And these two cases just a small head of the iceberg. And we have such a two big iceberg, and they are connected under the water. So I think these two ruling parties are not anymore deserving our choice, for me at least. And you know, first time Mongolia has a whole young generation who were able to have education, international, from more democratic countries, and who has also substantial, good enough, more than 10 years or so experiences in field of management, public management, private management, etc., businesses. So it's a time to give the power to these young people. So which are represented, for example, by the right person and electorate coalition, where the main bone is a Hun Nam, or Labour Party actually, of Mongolia. These are the young people who are we believe for, and also because a minister of the cabinet, Mr. Oyun Irden, yesterday announced that we have groups in Mongolian state that has own police and own prosecutors and own judges. That is the statement made by Mr. Oyun Irden, which itself says, how can we have such a state where the groups of bands, kind of mafia, they have own judge system, own justice system. So this system cannot work anymore. So that's why it's a time to have a new people. And as we say, old record, we call also disc record, old record cannot play new music. Mongolia needs new music.
So, as you said, old records can't play new music. So do you have any other advice for young voters? Because they are defining the future, next 4 years of the country.
You know, at last election, out of young people, just half have participated in the election. For the people above 55 have participated almost 100%. So young people they should know about the situation. If you don't vote, you are going to be for no change in this country, for having the same old system from which you are running away to Korea to have just daily some earnings, to do the jobs that the Koreans don't want to do, or any other foreign countries. And why we don't want to have a country where you can work, live well, earn well, if you're hard worker. So young people should go to vote. Otherwise, you are voting against yourself.
Okay, so let's get into our third topic for today. As previously mentioned, the 2020 parliamentary elections will be held next week on June the 24th, and we will discuss the situation after the elections. And our first question about this one is that what kind of challenges are waiting for Mongolians after the election, after the new parliament is formed?
Good questions. There will be still tomorrow after election. But probably 90% of Mongolians, in particular politicians, don't think that. Unfortunately, it's true. Wednesday is election, Thursday is a new day of new government to be formed. What will be clear on that day is out of 606 candidates, 6 of them are in the prison, but 76 of them out of the 606 will be a parliament member of Republic of Mongolia. There will be new prime minister, then new cabinet. By the way, first time according to the new constitution's amendment, this cabinet will be formed by the prime minister itself, no permission from the parliament. Hopefully it will give more freedom to the prime minister, stronger power to executive branch of the state. But whoever comes to the power, they need to face first the consequences of the coronavirus, which is happening today and which has no sign of disappearing if you take whole world. Last week, as we speak of, the amount of death are not decreasing. So in these circumstances, Mongolia is not exclusion, though we have nobody died. And some 2,000 people are under control, but still 10,000 Mongolians are still suffering abroad to try to come back home. No plane except charter flights where you hardly have a chance to have any seats if you are not pregnant woman, old person, etc., etc. So many people are trying to come back in this. And the economy is a very bad shape, like many other countries. 10% economy became smaller year-on-year based on for the first quarter. This quarter we don't expect any better result because many businesses are closed. The country having no death and no infection inside the country, having all businesses closed, and even there was a small demonstration last week against this lockdown, and they're demanding opening of all businesses. So this is a particular situation, and of course the second thing is the new government is to face huge foreign debt burden. Some $5.5 billion foreign government bonds are to be paid for next 4 years. And yet the economy is going down, and then probably the recovery of the economy, we need almost the same amount, about around $10 billion will be required for normal running of the economy, which is almost the size of 70% of the size of the economy. So we need to be rational. We should take cold shower as it is and think again, how can we go through all this situation?
So there is, as you mentioned, there's a lot of problems that the new parliament will face. So what should the new parliament prioritize above everything else?
Well, first of all, to recover all these costs we spent for COVID-19 related activities. In particular, many of them also were related to the current election campaign by the ruling party. And about 5.1 trillion MNT were used. But when they were spending it, they thought the COVID will be a maximum for this year or till the September, etc. But it turned out we have a new normal. It may go another year or so. It's a different mode of running of the country. First of all, to cover those things, and secondly, what should be done is the government should be cabinet should be a professional cabinet, not a political cabinet. That's I hope new prime minister will pay attention to. What was good under the election system was Democratic Party first time announced their prime minister in case of their winning the election, Mr. Jargal, who is supposed also to announce this week, hopefully tomorrow. He will also announce his cabinet beforehand. So it's a good, I think, president to have political parties announcing their cabinet before the end of the election. Because at times we spent 2 or 3 months to form new cabinet, which was just disaster time for the economy, for not clear planning for private sector, etc. That's, I think, the first priority. The cabinet should be professional. Second, they have to cut a lot budget expenses this year because revenues are cut anyway. Only thing is the current cabinet don't recognize that. They recognize, but they don't want to have any amendments to the budget because this election, because many money were planned to spend in their constituency, and they did not want to come there saying that we cut your investment for this and that social needs. So the current power, of course, they did not do it. So the new one has to do. So this kind of 2 probably challenges the new cabinet will meet and have to deal with.
So what about the continuance of policy? So there are lots of projects which the current parliament has started and haven't wrapped up yet. So how will the new government approach this?
Well, if you take back what was happening before, very simple. They were ignoring it, what the previous government was doing, which was a huge problem for private sector, because in some cases private sector got half of the money of the project, the next one is coming, cutting completely, and this private company becoming in the middle of the debt because half our project is done, half is not financed. So hopefully this, by the way, we should stop by law this kind of approach. Once the project had started by the previous government financing, then it should go on. Nobody has to stop. Otherwise, the government pay compensation to private companies. So private companies with the current high interest rate of loan, credit, they have a face problem anyway. And then yet you stop it. The fund is supposed to come for the continuation of the project. So hopefully Mongolian government or state is learning from the previous experiences, which I don't much trust. I don't think they are learning so fast. And hopefully whatever happens is to be more under scrutiny of civic society, and from the cabinet side, government side, it should have more accountability, report back what is exactly happening with our budget or tax money.
So how do we affect the government to continue this kind of projects? How do we prevent, prevent from this happening? And
well, if the same power remains in the power in the state, they have more chance to continue. But nobody can say now, predict what will be the day after or on Wednesday night. So Thursday morning, if the same party will stay in power, there will be more probability of continuation of many projects. If they are not, there's going to be a big problem. That's what was happening after 7 previous elections.
Okay, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we had for today, and we will see you next week with more topics.
Thank you. See you after the election. Bye.
Have a nice evening. Goodbye.